5 seconds late. CQ. Let me make sure I'm doing okay. Hold on. CQ, the Old Friends Net. Time for the Tuesday edition of the Old Friends Get Together. Or correction, oh man, time travel. Thursday edition of the Old Friends Get Together. This is W4MEC, your net control for the Thursdays here in May. The Old Friends Net meets 3 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. on 3715, give or take a frequency of your crystal or whatever, drifty BFO. And Sundays at 6 p.m., same frequency. While we are centered on vintage equipment that can generate AM, anybody can join us as long as their rig of any type can generate an AM signal. This is carried out in the old-fashioned roundtable mode of I'll take check-ins a couple times during the net and put you in the list here, and we go from there. It's also a great place to find something you're looking for or sell something you want to get rid of, or some information or a bit or piece you need. And routes today, 11 o'clock, Golden Corral, Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we'll probably have several folks not here because of that trip. So, let's get started with check-ins. Those wishing to participate, please give W4MEC. Come on.
Good morning, Charlie. WA4LLR.
N4LQ.
K4GDN.
WB4ARK.
WB4N.
KN4R.
K4JAL.
Okay, so far I got Buddy, WA4LLR, Steve, N4LK, Buddy, WB4ARK, Larry, WB4NKM, Brian, KN4R, and Jimmy, K4JAL. Any further check-ins?
W4VRO.
Okay.
George, K4GDN, after Steve. Over.
I doubled with you. Repeat.
George, K4GDN, tried to check in right after Steve. Over.
Thank you. I thought I heard, I couldn't tell if it was George or the splatter from 3725, so I'll put him in there. Anybody else? Okay, one more time. LLR, LQ, GDN, ARK, NKM, 4R, JAL, and VRO. Okay, fellas, good morning. It's 57 degrees here, clear skies, nice day out there. I was late because about 15 seconds to 9, I went to low power transmit to see how my SWR was, and it pinned the needle, and then I realized that I had put my antenna to ground when that lightning hit the other day, after the fact, but you never know if it's going to hit again. And the electric fence was coming right through just perfectly in the receiver, so I thought everything was working jam up, but it wasn't. So I ran out there and threw the switch. So let's get started with Dave, WA4LLR in the group W4MEC.
All right, good morning to everybody. This is WA4LLR. And I had every intention of being on the road for the luncheon, but all of a sudden the brakes started making a screech on the Nissan pickup, and took it to the shop, and they're going to have to put rotors on it as well as brakes. So that's wonderful. So last night after leaving church, when I started turning the wheel in my Rogue, it started making a noise. So I said, I don't think I'm going to head out on a 2-hour each-way trip with noise coming that I don't know what is. So I went to the garage this morning and he couldn't find anything wrong, and of course, when you took it over there, it didn't make a sound. So hopefully it was just a foreign object somewhere that fell out and not a necessary piece. Anyway, running the ART-13, listening on the HQ-180. Steve, down to you, N4LQ, and hope you guys have a good one, WA4LLR.
A foreign object. WA4LLR, N4LQ. Did you say that was a Nissan? Well, that's what I drive. Of course, it's doesn't have too many miles. It's got almost 50,000 on it. Pickup truck. But man, I don't know. Rotors and a noise at the same time. Is that two different vehicles? Anyhow, and Charlie, real fine on the antenna situation. It's a wonder that our rigs don't get destroyed constantly. We constantly make mistakes like that. I do the same here all the time. Forget that I got the wrong antenna, or the antenna's grounded, or whatever. And it's interesting, the electric fence comes through with it grounded. That tells you something right there, I guess. Anyway, glad you guys got on, and good morning to everybody. All the signals were strong this morning, especially Brian's. Over to K4GDN, N4LQ.
Yeah, the band seems to be a little bit better this morning. Still a bit weak. Copied most of Charlie and most of Dave. Steve's okay. And I'm running the multi-OMAC AF67 and the PMR7. And I'm feeding about 20 watts to the homebrew 811 linear. And I guess I'm getting about almost 250 watts of carrier out to the in-fed dipole. Everything seems to be working fairly well. We had a good bit of fog here this morning in Myrtle Beach, but it's pretty much burned off now and it's clear. And I think it's going to warm up today. Expecting some rain this weekend. I'm sorry I won't be able to make the lunch today. Hope you guys get there and get back home safe. So with that, I think I pass it on to Buddy. WB4ARK in the group, K4GDN.
K4GDN, WB4ARK. Okay, George. Well, yeah, I've had problems with a stick getting stuck in the power steering alignment or the power steering mechanism, and cause problems when you turn the car in one direction. It can happen. And we're running the ART-13 R390A receiver, feeding the horizontal dipole. Let's see what else. We got lots going on today. Got some work at my son's shop, and we've got that's about it really. So with that, we'll turn it over to WB4MKM, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK and WB4NKM. Thank you, buddy. Everybody's sounding good here into Virginia today. This is Larry, located in Wise, Virginia, running a Johnson Razor 1 and driving a Maritron amplifier. The receiver's HQ-170A, and it's 64 degrees up here this morning. I looked at the forecast, and it's supposed to be getting up to 83 as a high. So that's a little warm for up here in the mountains, but it's better than that cold wind blowing. I'll take it. I think we can survive. Dave, I hope you get your brake problem solved, and I know what that is. I've got one that's in the driveway now with a suspicion that the caliper hoses are collapsing on it. That's what the mechanic told me, and just got to find time to take it and get it repaired. So back down to you, Brian. KN4R, WB4NKM.
Okay, Larry, very good. WB4 NKM in the group, KN4R. Well, good morning to all. I'm copying everybody here, and Dave, you and Steve and Buddy are particularly loud here, but 68 degrees here in Sherrills Ford. Looks like a beautiful day for a luncheon. Sorry I'm not going to be there. John, KZ4B, just left. He picked up Charlie's transverter, and he's headed to Steve's house. So there you go. I saw something on the web this morning. It said, talking about things that break down unexpectedly and all that, it said, we live in a constantly burning house, and we just have to figure out how to, keep throwing water on the fire. So, and that sounds about right. So I'm using the old GRC9 here, running about 75 watts through the little RF Italy 300-watt amplifier. So, over to you, Jimmy. What's new up there? K4JAL in the group, KN4R.
KN4R, K4JAL. Well, good morning, Brian and everybody else. Things are fine up here in Hooterville. It's going to be a pretty day. It's going to start raining later in the week. I ought to mow today, but I'm too lazy. I'm running 305 RM Italy just like yours, Brian. Excited by 7610. That's what's going on here. Over to you, Ray. W4VRO, K4JAL.
K4JAL in the net. W4VRO. Thank you, Jimmy. Good morning. Good morning, Charlie, and good morning to everyone on the net. Signals are weak here this morning, and we have a little QRN. It's clear now. Very bright and calm day, but we do have a little rain forecast for Friday and Saturday, a chance of rain. And Dave, I'm not copying you 100%. That's very unusual. You're usually booming in, so I'm sure it's conditions. I can't stay. I wish I could stay in here for another couple of rounds, but I can't. I have to leave in just a few minutes, so I have to pull a switch here before it gets back around to me. But hope you all have a good lunch today, and a good day if you're not going to the lunch. But good to hear you, and Charlie, thanks for calling the net. I'll be listening a few minutes and check in next time. And it goes to George. I think I heard something about George checking out, but maybe not. I'm just not copying very well. Maybe it doesn't go to George. You can straighten me out, Charlie. K4GDN, W4VRO.
Yeah, Ray. George is behind Steve there. So anyway, thanks for checking in today. W4VRO and the old friends W4MEC. Good to hear you. You got a great signal up here. So things can be fickle at 9 in the morning on 75 meters. So this is W4MEC and the old friends net. Do we have any check-ins that would like to join us? Come now. Nothing heard. W4MEC and the old friends. All right, fellas, good round. Everybody's doing well. George, I was copying you okay when I cranked the RF gains up, and no problems there. Let's see, what else? The noise and the brakes. Well, my Ford pickup has got a metal shield of some kind behind the rotor with a notch in it for the caliper. And it is famous for my truck picking a rock up and throwing it and jamming the rock between that shield and the rotor by the caliper. And thankfully, it usually does it when I'm coming to. Most of the time, I guess maybe every time, it usually does it when I'm coming home. So I listen to a grinding, squealing, clanking noise until I get home, and usually I have to take the tire off, and sometimes even a rotor to get the darn thing out of there, unless I can pull the darn shield away and it drops out. But hadn't done that in a while, because there's hardly any rock on the road right now. It's supposed to be a gravel road or whatever, but it's got so much crusher run on it, there's hardly any rock. So it's still a mud hole in the rain, though, so crusher run is fine in dry weather, fine in dusty. In wet weather, it's just a slime pit. So, and the grader that works here, they very seldom pull the ditches, and every time he grades it, he kind of just grades it with no crown, so he ends up with a flat road with a 2 to 3 inch edge along both sides. So when it rains, the water doesn't go anywhere but on the road. So I guess DEI employee or something. So, all right, let's go around with WA4LLR again. W4, let me see.
All right, Charlie, fine business. W4MEC, WA4LR. And good morning to you, Ray, 7-3. Sorry you not copied me well. I'm just running about 100 watts. But sure is good to hear you. Well, let's see. Stephen answered your question. 2 different vehicles. The rotor job is on the Nissan Frontier pickup, and the strange intermittent noise was on my Nissan Rogue. So I've been having Nissan problems the last couple of days, which is unusual because they've been very, very problem-free for the most part, and I'm very thankful about that. George, first half of your transmission was good, and then you faded on me, and it's just, of course, at bad conditions. Buddy, your ART-13 sounds great as usual. And Larry, I hope you get the caliper hoses taken care of on your vehicle. And Brian, my word, you're strong up here today. You're almost 40 over. And I'm just wondering how your eye is doing. Jimmy, the 7610 sounds good. And Ray, you were pretty strong up here. So of course you're running the Johnson 500. Well, let's see what else. Our space weather today, sunspot number is 104. Solar flux index is 135, and the K is 3.3. So a little bit of instability in the geomagnetic field. A few items from this day in history. On this day in 1939, Lou Gehrig ended his 2,130 consecutive game streak for the New York Yankees. On this day in 2011, Osama bin Laden was killed by U.S. forces in Pakistan. On this day in 2000, the highly accurate GPS positioning was made available for the public. It had been degraded and used only for military use in its precision before. On this day in 1903, Benjamin Spock was born, famous for writing books on child rearing. This day in 1892, Baron von Richthofen was born in Poland. He was the leading German ace in World War I. On this day in 1803, the U.S. purchased the Louisiana Territory from France at less than 3 cents an acre. On this day in 1611, the King James Version of the Bible was published. And on this day in 1519, Leonardo da Vinci died in France. So that's a few things on this day in history. So here we go again. N4LQ, WA4LLR, and try to help John on those chicken livers, Steve.
I remember all those things. Man, oh man, it's N4LQ. Yeah, well, let's see. The sticks get stuck in my tractor's pulley and throw the belt off, and that's because the pulley is down so close to the ground. Even though it's got a shield on it, somehow a stick can manage to find its way in there. And that strands me because the pulley turns the hydraulic pumps, and I can't go anywhere once that happens. So I have to take a few things apart and get the belt back on so those pumps can run. That's happened 3 times in the past 21 years, so I guess that's not too bad. But I'm getting to where I try to avoid rough areas like that out here in the woods. Anxious for the lunch, and John will be with me, so somehow I've got to get ahead of him, and I've got a plan so I can get some chicken livers. I think I'm going to throw a diversion, try to get him talking to somebody, and then I can zero in on those livers. Brian, you are unbelievably loud this morning. I don't know what's going on. Some kind of condition. That thing is that GRC9. It sounds awful, but it is really loud. And let's see what else is going on. Looking at the, I've got this Johnson Viking mobile transmitter here. I'm working up well, Cliff's already got his on the air, but I'm working up an urge to put it on the air and got to come up with a power supply. But I'm admiring the way that it produces bias for the final and the modulator driver. And to produce bias, now get this, it's got an oscillator that oscillates at 4.5 megahertz, and that's all it does. It just sits there and oscillates forever. And that oscillating, that RF it produces goes through a rectifier, and lo and behold, negative DC comes out of it. That's how it produces it. No battery, no self-bias, no clamp tube. It just uses that oscillator to produce the bias. And the oscillator is a 12AU7 tube. That does the oscillating and the rectifying. Pretty weird setup, I'd think. Over to George, K4GDN, N4LQ.
N4LQ, the group K4GDN. Yeah, the band is acting kind of strange here. I'm having problems copying. Let's see. Brian was good, but Jimmy was weak, and so was Larry. But I copied Ray pretty well, and Charlie's weak. And Charlie, thanks for calling in. I sure wish I could get to the lunch today, but don't know what's going to go on. I'm going to mention this thing again about July 4th. That's a Thursday. Anybody want to talk about moving the lunch a week later? I would sure be interested in that. Anyway, that's about it from this side. I'm going to stick around. And like I say, the band is getting a little strange, and there is some QSB. So with that, buddy's coming to you. WB4ARK in the group, K4GDN.
K4GDN, WB4ARK. Okay, George. Everybody's signal is still holding strong today. The band is a little strange. The 10 megahertz signal from WWV is fair. Not good, but fair. And 15 is missing, 20 is missing, and so that's what's going on with that. I noticed that just before the net started, and I was going to set my clock here, so I don't know what is going on with the propagation, but that has certainly something to do with transmission. Let's see what else. Well, that's about it. I guess I don't have anything else to say right now. We've got everything else covered. So with that, over to WB4MKM, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy, WB4ARK from WB4NKM. Well, everybody's still holding up good here. George took a fade, and the signals are strong. I like the sound of those ART-13s this morning. Dave's, your sounds excellent, and also, buddy, yours is sounding good too. And good carriers up here. Everybody's about 40 over with some fade once in a while. Thank you, Dave, for the history. And I chuckled when Steve said he remembered that. Better be careful, Steve. You'll tell your age. Brian, I think the audio from the GRC9 sounds good. I like good communications audio, so hang in there with that. Over to you, Jimmy. No, it's to Brian. KN4R. I've got to still get woke up here. WB4NKM.
Okay, Larry. Very good. WB4NKM in the group. KN4R. Well, yeah, I'd say the band is very short because you didn't come through that time as strong as you had been, Larry, earlier. So, but still copied Q5. So, and yeah, very good on everything. Let's see. 73's Ray. Always great to hear you. Glad you've been checking the net again lately. Steve, I was going to recommend what you said. Just get John talking to somebody, and you can sneak right in and get those chicken livers. The other thing is, John will mound that, the helping he takes will leave him with a huge mound on his plate, and that'll take him a while to eat. So either way, you might be able to get the next batch. So, and thanks about the GRC9 comments. Very strong, but sounds awful. Well, I'd say it sounds doubly awful then if it's really, really strong. So sorry to hear that, but hey, at least it's communicating. It is a fun rig to use, though. So let's see, who's next? Jimmy, what kind of projects you been working on up there? K4JAL in the group, KN4R. Hey, Jimmy, K4JAL, they still with us? W4MC.
K4JAL, yeah, I am. Somebody had me on the phone there. Sorry, guys. Anyway, this is K4JAL. I was hung up. Duke Energy was wanting to clean something up, and I don't know what they're talking about, so I guess it doesn't matter as long as they don't try to clean me up. I got to go get on the elliptical and keep my help running along. They said something about your eye being worked on, Brian. I hope you're okay. And top of the morning to you, Larry. I wish you'd passed it to me at that time. I would have been more coherent. How's everything in Wise? I'll say 7-3 and listen a while and try to get this phone call ended up. Back to you, Charlie. W4MEC, K4JAL, 7-3 and listen.
Okay, Jimmy, good to hear you today. K4JAL in the group, W4MEC. Do we have any seconds that'd like to join us? Give me a call. Nothing heard, so here we go again, around. At least one more time. And then maybe 73 after that. First off, Steve, what rig are you using? I don't use this word a lot, but your audio is bodacious. I don't know, it's just so, it's Voice of America quality this morning, broadcast. So I'm not sure if you're using a rig with an equalizer, but you've got it set up pretty darn good. Let's see, what else did I write down here that I can not read? Yeah, George went from readable to on that last transmission to unreadable, and then I heard him turn it over to Larry. That's about all I heard. Well, for the first time in 32 years, I got jury duty, and I didn't think they put people on juries when they're over 70. They think they're too old or something, but I got one. And on the 22nd, I'm supposed to call in. Hopefully, they'll say they don't need me. But the fact that they sent me one, maybe they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, I guess. Which is one plus about jury duty in Hendersonville is they don't require you to wear a suit coat and a tie. You can just go in jeans and a sports shirt, just something clean, take a bath, you know, that kind of deal. But my previous town, they made you wear a suit and tie. Well, not a suit, but a sport jacket and a tie. And if you didn't have one, they would give you one. And I was there when they were calling up, you know, going through the people for a jury. And this fella came in, he was a pulpwooder, and I swear he must have parked the truck out in the parking lot, because he came in overalls, you know, and walked up there, and he was giving the judge his story, and I believe him, because he had to make his living as a pulpwooder. And the judge would not give him permission to be off the jury, and he said, well, I don't own a suit. And he says, we'll give you one. So I don't know what happened. They let me off of that jury because I knew the attorney, one of the attorneys that was in the trial, so they let me go. But that poor fella, I guess they gave him a suit and a sport coat and a jacket and a tie to put on over his overalls when they called him in. So anyway, WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC, WA4LLR. Well, you know, that may have been Eugene Ledbetter. Who knows? But that's I bet he looked good in a coat and tie with his overalls. Oh, mercy. Well, Yancey County's pretty laid back. I don't think they make anybody do that, or I've never had to put one on when I was there. But I've got a friend that whenever they're, you know, if we get selected for jury duty, and they're questioning about this, that, and the other, and I said, well, you know, what do you think? He says, well, I think he's guilty, or the guy wouldn't have arrested him, and that usually gets him dismissed. So either that, or if you happen to know who's being tried, if he's in the courtroom, just holler, hey, Ray, or whatever his name is, and that'll work too. But anyway, well, let's see here. Brian, you didn't comment on your eye. Just curious how it's doing. Hope you're doing well. And the GRC9 is, man, it's got some punch to it. And it is communications audio. It sounds exactly like somebody in the field in Nam or somewhere communicating, but there's no problem telling what you're saying, so don't sweat it, buddy. Keep the green boxes talking. Today I'm trying to think what I have to do, since I'm not going to Spartanburg. So I probably need to do some weed eating, perish the thought. So we'll see what we get into here in a little bit. And Steve, I shudder to use the term, but you sound studio quality with that mic, which is wonderful for good band conditions. Now, if they were marginal, that'd be another thing, but since we hear you wonderfully, then you sound wonderful. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
In that case, I just throw the marginal switch here, and I'm all ready to go. This is N4LQ. I'm glad you like it. It's just the CalRad crystal mic, which I've described on here before. El Cheapo Faco RCA 77. I got it hanging upside down on the boom. Looks like a studio, but it's got two crystal elements in it that face each other, and I think that's pretty cool. So you kind of talk between them. As far as jury duty goes, I've only been called one time in my life, and that's when I was a busy guy working at the bank back in Louisville, and I was worried about, getting tied up, and it was a murder trial of all things, and that could go on for months, and they called us in for some kind of an interview and asked us questions and all this, and then they sent us home. And the next day I got a call from the courthouse, and the lady said, forget the trial, he confessed. Well, I was glad, and they dismissed the whole trial, and I was off the hook, and that's the last I ever heard of it. And since I retired, I got plenty of time, but I've never been summoned for jury duty. I guess that's about it from here. Over to Mr. George. Hope you're still copying. You're starting to get a little bit light over there. K4GDN, N4LQ.
N4LQ in the group's K4GDN. Yeah, man, I'm getting 2XP, and it's pretty deep at times. Almost took you out completely on that one, but you're still coming in all right. I've had jury a couple of times. Nothing really serious. I think I've even had it once since I've been down here in the third world. That was kind of interesting. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say 73 on this round. I enjoyed it. Charlie, thanks for calling in. Everybody's traveling. Hope you have a safe trip. And maybe I'll be in here Sunday. I'm not sure. Sunday's a little bit hard for me to get in the afternoon. If not, I'll be back in here Tuesday. So with that, let's see. It goes on over to buddy WB4ARK in the group, K4GDN. 73, guys.
K4GDN, WB4ARK. All right, well, your signal was getting a little bit weak that time, George. Dave, I wonder if your address is still 524 Dave Gillespie Drive. You got your road named after you? That's interesting. 28714 Burnsville, North Carolina, if that's correct. Let's see. Well, I guess that's it. I don't send to you by the mail. I'm going to send you 4 this time, in case you need a couple of extra ones. And if you don't have a crimping tool, just fold them over with some pliers and then solder them. Usually works real well, and put some heat shrink on them so they won't short out. I guess that's about it for me. I'm going to go down to my son's shop and do some work down there. So we are going to say thanks for doing the net, Charlie, and pass it on to WB4MKM. This is WB4ARK.
Yeah, WB4ARK from WB4NKM. On 7-3s to you, buddy. Signal still holding up good here. And George was weak on me, but I copied him 100%. So the band kind of stretching out long, I guess. Charlie, I feel for you on that jury duty. I hated that. It's up here in Virginia, when you hit 70, I guess you're exempt. The last letter I got had that on. And I forget what I had to do to get out of it. I think the letter stated that if you were over 70, you didn't have to respond. So I think I still had to call them though and tell them that I was over 70. And I always dreaded that. I've served a couple of times, and I've come to the conclusion that it wasn't worth the money that they get to pay you. I talked to Cliff yesterday on 220. I've got a 220 repeater up here that he can get into, and he was telling me about his mobile, Johnson Mobile, I guess he got going, and I expected to hear him on it, but I don't know what he's into. He may have overslept. Probably out walking. On Steve's audio, I was thinking the same thing, Charlie. Steve, your audio does sound superb this morning. Sounding great. Down to you, Brian, KN4R, WB4NKN.
Okay, Larry, very good. WB4NKM in the group, KN4R. Well, maybe we have a new standard for audio. It sounds CalRad, and that's a new high level there. So, Charlie, I agree with Dave. You know, just take one glance at the defendant and just tell somebody he looks guilty, and you'll probably be released there. So, and Dave, eye is doing better. It's not the cataract surgery and all that. The vision's pretty good, 20/40, but it's getting better every day. But the iritis is that's what flared up and makes you feel like you got sand in your eye and all that. And it's still going, but still taking medicine, and it's getting a little bit better every day. So I can drive now, you know, limited and do limited stuff around the house. So that's what I'm going to start doing. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and say 73s as well. Enjoyed it. I hope everybody has a wonderful Thursday and the rest of the week. So let's see. Jimmy signed and Ray signed. So I think it goes back to you, Charlie. W4MEC in the group. Everybody have a great luncheon. This is KN4R.
Okay, Brian, KN4R in the group, W4MEC. I think there's a couple of us left, but maybe not. All right. Yeah, I just looked at that Jerry Summers. Who mentioned that? Larry did. And 72. You got to be 72 or older to get out of it. So I missed it by a year. So I guess they said, we better get this guy or he'll age out. My wife, on the other hand, was getting jury summons all the time, and she couldn't understand it. And finally, at the time, the clerk of courts was in our church, and we knew him really well. And she asked him, he says, I keep getting jury duty notices. And he says, well, let me look into it. And it turns out that they had her name down 3 different ways, and her name is Martha Jean. They had her as Martha Jean, 1 word. They had her as Martha Jean, 2 words, and they had her as MJ. And all 3 of those were on the list, so she was getting a triple whammy. And he says, well, I'll fix that, and they've got it right now. And ever since they did that, she never had another sermon. So the other thing is, how do they know it got delivered? You know, it tells you got to show up, or I guess they arrest you, but they trust the mail to deliver it, and they lose stuff. So how in the world do you know if you actually got a jury summons if it never got delivered? So and what do? You tell them, well, I never got one. They arrest you anyway? I don't know. But anyhow, so much for that. So we'll do a quick 73 round. We got Dave and Steve, and I think Larry's with us, and I think everybody else checked out. But and then I'll get going. Carl, W4RCW, will be at the lunch. Got to go retrieve him. I'm hoping he's driving the rest of the way. I-26 is backed up at the Lake Bowen Bridge as normal, and it can back up for 2 or 3 miles and go very slow, so I'm going to avoid that. We go the back way over to US 29, so we don't have to get in that mess. So a quick 73 round. WA4LR in the group, W4MEC.
All right, Charlie. W4MEC, WA4LR. Let's see here. Well, glad Martha Jean got down to one name. And let's see here, buddy. If you're still listening, the address is correct, 524 Dave Gillespie Drive, and I appreciate that immensely. Brian, glad to hear your eyes getting a little better every day. Pray that smooths out and you get back to normal real quickly. Charlie, thanks for calling the net. Everybody have a great day. 7-3, God bless, and Lord willing, we'll catch up with you on Sunday. N4LQ. Now, tell me the truth. Do you have any equalization or processing or something between that microphone and your radio? Because there's more to it than what I've been hearing. 7-3, guys. N4LQ, WA4LR.
WA4LR, N4LQ. Yeah, I've got an entire board here, about 6 feet long, and all these sliders on it, and I just get them all set just right. Well, I'm sitting here looking for the I'm just sitting here looking for KZ4B. I'm looking on the security camera that pans the front yard. That crazy camera is real smart, and it knows to notify me if there's a person or a vehicle or a pet, and it recognizes all three of those things. But I've got this fake concrete rabbit out there under the tree, and it keeps zeroing in on that thing and puts a square around it and says pet, pet, and the thing hasn't moved in a year. It just sits there, and it really doesn't even look like a rabbit to me, but that camera knows it's a rabbit. So I'm going to have to move that rabbit. Anyway, 73s, everybody. Hope to see some of you at the meeting today. And I'll turn it over to, let's see, Larry? You still here? WB4NKM, N4LQ.
I wouldn't move that rabbit, Steve. That'll get that camera bored. It won't have anything to do sitting there all day. Okay. Well, good morning to everybody. I hope you have a wonderful, safe day. I've enjoyed being in here. Thank you, Charlie, for calling and that. And we'll try to do it again. Look for everybody Sunday. 73s to all. This is WB4NKM clear.
Okay, fellas, real good. We'll be looking for you. Well, I will not be on the net Sunday. I'll catch up with you on Tuesday. Y'all have a good rest of the day. And thanks for everybody that participated. This is W4MEC, and we're shutting down the Old Friends Net. Bye-bye.